There we go. Let's see. Today we're here with Elaine on the plane. Just a short interview about some of the stuff we do around here and a little bit about her backstory, things like that, and her thoughts on Herb Blair. All right, so first question we're going to do is what was your primary work background as you were going through life? Give us a little bit of background on that.
Okay, I was hired by TWA Airlines and was a flight attendant for 40 years.
40 years.
Correct.
That's
TWA got bought out by American, so I went from TWA to American Airlines.
so.
But I was there in the best of times and then the worst of times.
Okay.
I
What were
was
the worst of
hired-
times?
Well, I'll start with the best. I was hired when people still dressed up in nice clothes, suits, and they were courteous to each other. And the worst of times was when everyone was throwing their bags in the overhead and wouldn't help each other. So I saw the best of people and the worst.
Okay. So any of the guys with their pants down around their hips and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
and people
That
wearing
sounds like-
pajamas on the plane.
Oh, pajamas.
For a flight. Well, that's what it looked like.
So I guess you kindly covered that, but is there anything else you'd like to mention about what you enjoyed in your job?
I enjoyed the international part of it quite a bit because I got to see other countries and people's different customs, and just the beauty of Europe is amazing. The ruins and everything, but the food was fantastic too. I miss the different people though that I met. It was great.
So, who would you say was the most interesting person you met on one of your flights there?
I'd have to say Red Skelton.
Red Skelton.
Yes, and I have a picture of that he drew for me. He would always pick out one flight attendant and give it to them at the end of the flight, and it's hanging on my wall to this day. And I cherish it because he was an absolutely fantastic, kind, loving person.
Did he crack any jokes or anything?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
I used to love watching
Oh
his.
yeah.
So do you remember any of the jokes he cracked or anything?
Well,
like
the
that?
one thing that he did for me, and it was humorous, but at the same time embarrassing, when I first met him, I was serving him and I said, "Oh, Mr. Skeleton, it is such a privilege to serve you." And he goes, "Oh, no, honey." He said, "It's Skelton, that comes later." He was cute, and he called everyone Deerheart, so it was Deerheart.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he was great.
All right. Okay. So, how long ago were you diagnosed with Parkinson's?
That was 6 years ago.
6 years.
After I had retired, and it came as a shock, but you know, once you learn more about it, it is not as frightening as it is when you're first diagnosed, and you just find ways to deal with it. You don't just sit back and let it take over. You find ways to deal with it, and that's when I found Rock Steady Boxing.
Okay. So what's the worst thing you have to deal with Parkinson's?
The tremors.
The tremors? Okay.
Yeah, because it's obvious to other people, and you try to conceal it and just fit in with everyone, but that makes it pretty obvious.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any humor that you can find in your diagnosis? Do you ever?
I don't know if I'd call it humor. You just get on with life.
Okay. All right.
Find things to do and keep yourself busy, and don't dwell on yourself. I try to focus on other people and do, volunteer work and things like that.
Okay.
So it makes it better.
Okay. So now then, you're originally from Detroit, right?
You got it.
All right. Detroit, Rock City.
Detroit,
or
Michigan.
Motown, whichever one you want to call it, right?
Right.
Yep. And then you said you lived in New York City for several
About
years?
20 years.
20 years while you working for the airlines.
Right, I was based in New York, so.
Okay.
But I didn't live in the city the entire time. I lived on West Atlantic Beach part of the time near the ocean, and then
West
New
Atlantic
Jersey.
Beach, okay.
Yeah, in
West-
New York.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then
New Jersey, but the commute was horrendous.
What was,
With the bridges that you had to cross and the traffic, but,
was it like in Newark or?
oh, I worked out of every airport, LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark.
Okay, but no, I said where you lived at, was that Newark or outside of Newark?
Oh, no, it was near Fort Lee, New Jersey,
Okay.
Hasbrook
All right.
Heights,
All
that
right.
area.
Okay, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see. So other than where you live, where is one place that you would like to visit?
Well, I've been all over the U.S., but I would like to go back to Hawaii right now because I'd like to be near the ocean and just walk on the beach. That would be fun right now.
I got to do that last year.
Oh, lucky you.
Got to play in the water, and I
Oh.
caught COVID.
Oh, no.
Way to
Well,
go.
Yeah, we'll
So,
forget about
Hawaii.
that part.
Any place in particular in Hawaii that you would like to go?
Maui, it's beautiful, but
Mhm.
along the ocean too.
Just
It doesn't matter, yes.
I can understand that.
Mhm.
Okay. Jump right into the interview here. What's been your primary source of work throughout your lifetime?
It's been in manufacturing. I came to Harrison, Arkansas in 1955 and hired on as in Duncan Industries, one of the older industries. It's not here anymore. Got laid off there and got an opportunity to go to work for which is now Pace. It was called Arkansas Diecast at that time. But I worked for them 15 years. Was a second employee, and we just recently I had dinner with the fellow that was hired in about 3 months before I was. Had a good visit with him last Saturday.
Second employee?
Yeah, and after 15 years with this company, my main, I suppose, goal in life was continuing manufacturing, to start my own business. I had an opportunity my family did, to get into manufacturing on our own, and we ran that. I worked that business 30 years. My son worked 40 years. All of his career, he worked in manufacturing in our own business. But we've been blessed by having a great employee base. We had up to 50 people working at one time.
Okay. What was the name of your company?
It was Johnson Manufacturing Company.
Okay. What did you specialize in?
Well, we in the early days, we started out with a display turntable. Had some 50 component parts in it. We sold it, I think, some 38 states in the United States and a couple of foreign countries. We diversified in machine work, precision machine work with different industries here in town, and then later diversified into die casting, and later into plastic injection molding. We felt like that's where the future was going to be, and that worked good for us. We were very, very blessed. So our business go from one part-time employee to 50 full-time employees. So we were definitely very blessed.
All right. So yeah, well, it sounds like you spanned the whole gambit in manufacturing, from die cast all the way over to the plastic mold injection stuff.
We were fortunate enough to have a party come along after our 50 years in business. They wanted to buy our business, and we didn't have it for sale at that time, but we were able to make a decision to go with it. It worked out great for both parties. I believe it's going to continue to run under the same name.
Cool. So how long ago were you diagnosed diagnosed with Parkinson's?
This fall will be two years.
2 years.
Yes.
Okay. So what is probably the most difficult thing you have to deal with the disease?
Well, at the present, I feel like the most effective physically is my speech. I'm having more difficulty with my speech than accepting the Parkinson's disease itself. But I was told by my doctor that to stay active as long as I could would be the most profitable thing for my health.
Okay.
And that's what I've tried to do in the exercise program like we're involved in. There is a place you'd like to go, yeah. I've always thought I would go to Detroit and see Henry Ford Museum and all these racing cars, because I love old cars and I've restored several, and I have a desire to go to the original museum and visit that someday. So if I live long enough, maybe I'll get around to that.
There you go. Well, I've seen some of the work you've done, and it's pretty impressive on your vehicles there.
Thank you. We enjoy them.
All
A
right.
little bit more about that 56 Chevy.
Well, I actually worked at a dealership, Chevrolet dealership, when I was in high school part-time. And I got to watch them hide the new models each year. And back then, they used to keep them covered. Well, I got to see the 55s when they first came out. The first V8 major body change General Motors made in many years. And I really fell in love with them at that time. And it turns out that the 5, 6, and 7, 55, 6, and 7 years were really classic years for Chevrolet. They sold a lot of them, and they still a lot of them around. But I decided right then in 1955 that I would sure like to buy one when they came out the next year. And I was able to save enough money and have a job well enough that I could pay for one. So I bought it in 56. My wife and I got married in 57. And
What did it cost you when you bought it?
it was $2,300.
$2,300.
Yeah. My payment's $78 a month.
Okay.
That may not sound much, but when you're only making about $45 a week, that's almost 2 checks a week, 2 checks out of a month to pay for it.
Okay.
You know, over $4 now.
Well, congratulations.
And my wife always said if I ever left her, she'd let me have my 56 McQueen pair of underwear.
Yeah, I learned about life for every mile we went through. 'Cause that's what a Chevy and a daddy.
Hi, my name is Charles Cantrell, and we're here with the Baroness, the Cattle Baroness of Northwest Arkansas, Carlene Morris. She is one of our Rocksteady Boxing participants, and we'll just get in with the interview. So, over the years, what has been your primary work focus?
Okay, well, I've worked 36 years in the superintendent schools office, and well, not based all in superintendent schools office, but in the Harrison School District. I was an aide for a few years, and then a position came open for an administrative assistant for our new superintendent, Charles Adair, and I interviewed
remember him.
interviewed with him and became his administrative assistant, and I worked there for like 30 some odd years until I retired in 2010-11, I believe.
Okay. So, next question is, how long ago were you diagnosed with Parkinson's?
10 years ago. I was 59 years old, and I was thinking, well, I really wasn't thinking, I was nearing retirement age, and then I began to get sort of being anxious when I go to board meetings and have to take minutes, and if there was anything that come up that would challenge me, that would kind of set off an anxiety attack.
Okay. So, let's see. What is probably one of the most difficult things to deal with in this disease for you?
Well, I've tended to, my personality has changed some. I'm always kind of a challenging person, but my husband has said, that I'm harder to get along with. I'm more opinionated, and I like my way,
Okay.
and I can see that. You can too, can't
Yes,
you?
yes, I can. Yes. All right. So, is there any humor humor would be a good word to use to kind of get you through some of your harder times
Well, you
with
have
the disease?
You have to laugh, because if you don't, you'll cry.
Okay.
And sometimes I tend to get want to have a pity party, and then I think, you can either do that, you can either laugh about it, or you can cry about it, and crying won't do a bit of good. and laughter is the best medicine.
That's right. Yeah. So other than where you live, is there any place that you would call your happy place or would like to go just to visit?
Later on in our lives, we started going to the mountains. We started going to Colorado and going up on our side-by-side rides up to the 14,000
Oh, cool.
mile high mountains, and it's always cool. And I do better with cool than hot with the Parkinson's. So I would like to do that again. And I've always enjoyed traveling, and I'm always up for traveling, but it's another thing that causes anxiety. So
Yeah, I think we've talked about that a little bit there, especially when you go down and visit your daughter. You said you finally got the courage to fly down there by yourself
By
not too
myself.
long ago. How about talking about that a little bit?
well, I don't know. It's just like doing this interview here. It scares me. It's almost, you're afraid to be your real self
Okay.
because you've always been strong, and this disease, it eliminates your weaknesses, and it's hard for me to admit that to people.
Okay. All right. All right.
Well, there's one other thing I wanted to say about